Hi, this is Daryl Meyer from Keller, Texas. Today is Thursday, August 12th, 2010. A little early post today. I've got a crazy busy day, so I knew I wouldn't get to the computer until about midnight tonight. So let's get right to it. Here's a story out of Arutz Sheva. It says Iran warns against Israeli invasion of Lebanon. Iran has warned if Israel were to invade Lebanon, it would be counterattacked by several countries in the region. Iran's Fars news agency reported that an Iranian foreign ministry spokesman issued the warning yesterday, saying that while it's unlikely Israel will invade Lebanon, the Zionist regime would be slapped hard in the face by the regional states if it dares to attack Lebanon again. Of course, we know back in, 2006, they had an attack against Lebanon. But, tensions are heightened between Israel and Lebanon over this ambush that Lebanon did last week. And even in this story right here, it says, but the Arabic and Muslim media has been quick to blame Israel for the incident. Okay, first of all, Israel called the UN prior to going to trim these trees. Said, hey, we're going to go trim these trees on our side of the border because it blocks, it makes it difficult to defend our borders. And then the UN called Lebanon. Well, Lebanon then called the media, said, hey, come to the border because something's going down today. Lebanon ambushed Israel. But right here, the Arabic and Muslim media twist the truth to suit their own agenda for their own good, just like they twist the truth of the Bible to suit their own agenda. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say this, but their Quran twists the truth of the Holy Bible by saying Jesus is not the Son of God, by saying that Jesus did not die on the cross, and by claiming that Abraham nearly sacrificed Ishmael instead of Isaac, which we know is a broad-faced lie. But they twist the truth to suit their agenda, thereby making themselves heirs to the promise because they're really not. That's all I'm going to say about that in this report. Anyway, I just find that bizarre how the Arabic and Muslim media say Israel fired the first shot when the UN says no, they didn't. Let's see what else is going on today. Several things happening. A group of Muslim imams made a trip to a Nazi concentration camp this week, prompting a couple of them to have tears in their eyes. 8 imams made a 3-day trip to Auschwitz this week, co-sponsored by a German think tank and the New Jersey-based Center for Interreligious Understanding, and strongly supported by the United States government. The trip, as reported in the Jewish Forward, was the brainchild of Marshall Berger, an Orthodox Jew, and he worked in the Reagan administration and the Bush administration. But this is in response to Mahmoud Ahmadinejad putting up a website denying the Holocaust, and these Muslim imams said, you know what? The Holocaust did happen, it was real, and they teared up seeing how the Jews were treated and how they were killed in these concentration camps. I think that's just a little finger in the eye of Ahmadinejad saying, hey, it did happen. Get a clue. Which we all know it did. I don't know why so many people in this world want to deny the truth. Okay, still in Arutz Sheva, after taking responsibility for the problematic nature of the May 31st IDF naval raid on the Free Gaza flotilla, IDF Chief of Staff Gabi Ashkenazi said Wednesday that the next enemy flotillas will be met differently. He said, we know the next flotillas will try to break through our borders, and the weapons ships that they will try to arm the terror organizations with will be blocked by the naval defense shield of the State of Israel of the Navy. And, they know more are coming, but they now have a system set up to where, guess what? They're not getting through. So you know what? Enemies of Israel, you might as well quit sending ships there. I saw in the news last day or two where they're sending an all-woman ship to try to break through. It's just amazing the things they're trying to do to provoke Israel. Okay, they're not doing any good. They're simply provoking Israel. Here's a story that I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, but this is out of Haaretz.com. Says Muslims outraged as U.S. church plans to burn the Quran. Florida's Dove World Outreach Center to burn the Islamic holy text on church grounds in remembrance of the victims of 9/11. Not quite sure how that's remembering or honoring any victims of 9/11, but let me read the story to you. The world's preeminent Sunni Muslim institution of learning has condemned a Florida church's plans to host a Quran burning ceremony on September 11th. In a statement carried by local media on Thursday, Al-Azhar's Supreme Council in Egypt accused the church of stirring up hate and discrimination and called on other American churches to condemn the event. The Dove World Outreach Center is planning to burn the Islamic holy text on church grounds in remembrance of the victims of 9/11. Organizers are using its website and social network sites like Facebook to promote the event. The Gainesville church, which also campaigns against homosexuality, made headlines last year after distributing T-shirts that read, "Islam is of the devil." Okay, I'd kind of like to have one of those T-shirts because I believe that Islam is of the devil. He's twisted all the truths of the Bible and just perverted the whole thing. But is burning the Quran really a way to honor or remember victims of 9/11? I don't know. I mean, it looks to me like they're just inciting hate and violence and provoking the Muslim people. Now, I think the Quran is, a vile book, but it is their holy book. And while I am tolerant of other religions, I believe they've missed the mark. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." And Muslims think Jesus was merely a prophet and nothing else. So, in the way that they deny the Son, they deny the Father. So, I'm simply not speaking against their religion. I'm trying to help open their eyes to see the truth. Okay. Out of IsraelToday.com, the LA Times agrees Gaza pullout was a mistake. Even the most liberal of commentators on the Middle East peace process are waking up to the fact that it was a mistake for Israel to unilaterally uproot the 10,000 Jews living in the Gaza Strip in 2005. In a piece carried in the Sunday edition of the Los Angeles Times, columnist Edmund Sanders said the withdrawal implemented by then Prime Minister Ariel Sharon under heavy American pressure was an error in judgment by all parties involved. Really? Only 5 years later you figured that out? Okay. Sanders noted that while disengagement enjoyed broad support at the time, both in Israel and abroad, almost no one calls it a success today. Yeah. Among the negative results of the withdrawal, Sanders recognized that it helped put Hamas in power, a terrorist group whose only mission is the destruction of Israel. Security for Israelis didn't improve, it even worsened. It contributed to increased isolation for Israeli internationally. It raised doubts as to whether the Palestinians are actually ready for statehood. And it made Israelis more cynical about the chances for future land for peace deals. Well, yeah. Not to mention the 9,000 rockets that were lobbed into Israel from Gaza by these Hamas terrorists. Just before the so-called disengagement, Sharon and the Bush administration promised Israelis that wholly surrendering Gaza to the Palestinians would create an atmosphere conducive to final state peace negotiations and give Israel a more free hand to defend itself, which in turn would create a deterrent against continued Palestinian attacks from Gaza. Sorry. In reality, Hamas painted the withdrawal as an Israeli retreat created by its resistance, and that image to an impressive electoral victory and eventually military takeover of Gaza. Hamas then proceeded to fire thousands of rockets, about 9,000, into southern Israel over a 6-month period in 2008 that precipitated an Israeli invasion of the coastal strip. But rather than keep its word that Israel would have a more free hand in dealing with Gaza-based terror after the withdrawal, the international community blamed Israel for starting the Gaza war and accused the Jewish state of war crimes. So let me ask you this. How many rockets do you have to fire into a country before that country can respond without getting in trouble? I would say one. Okay, if Cuba launched a missile and it hit Washington, D.C., guarantee you our military would be hitting Cuba with all kinds of stuff. Okay? 9,000 rockets later, you know what? We're tired of this. Boom. Okay, and then Israel gets their hand slapped. You shouldn't have done that. You should have been more tolerant of all those rockets in your country. Shut up. Okay. Let's talk about how the White House has changed since Obama's been in office. Is it just me, or has anyone else noticed this? The Oval Office is now stripped of all the traditional red, white, and blue and replaced with Middle Eastern wallpaper, drapes, and decor. The hallway that he walks out of to talk to the press now has Middle Eastern chairs and drapes. And the thing that bothered me most is this bright yellow drape behind him every time he speaks from the White House. It has Arabic symbols on it, and it's been there from the very beginning. And, you know, I thought about this, and I looked back, and the pictures of George Bush, Clinton, the first Bush, and Ronald Reagan, they all have the American flags, red, white, and blue everywhere, very patriotic, very American looking. Obama, no. This is very intentional. So, why is it intentional? He said he would change America, didn't he? You like the change? This man, whoever he is not an American. He's a Muslim and a socialist, and he is trying to take America down. And I've never understood that all nations would come against Israel. I always thought, not America, surely not America. We're Israel's best friend. But now that we have a Muslim socialist president trying to take America down, I can see where, yeah, we would probably be lining up with all the other nations going against Israel ourselves. Pray for this. Pray against this. And, you know, this November, make your vote heard. Because I am tired of this Muslim socialist who's probably not even a legitimate American. He wasn't born here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent $2 million keeping his birth certificate out of the courts. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. Let's go to Psalm 13, verse 3. David said, "Consider and hear me, O Lord my God. Enlighten my eyes." Enlighten my eyes. You know, so much of our lives are based on perspective. The way we see things definitely determines and drives the way we respond to them. You know, it's like the two shoe salesmen who were sent to scout the prospects of selling their product in a distant land, and upon arriving they found that nobody wore shoes. Okay, the first salesman telegraphed his headquarters and said, "You know what, this will be a useless adventure. Don't waste your time here. Nobody even wears shoes. We're wasting our time." But his colleague had a more optimistic outlook. He telegraphed back, said, "You'll never believe it. Everybody needs shoes here, and there's absolutely no competition." So it's all about perspective. You know, two people can read the same verse in the Bible and come up with two different meanings, like Daniel 9:27. That clearly talks about the Antichrist claiming to be God. But many people read that and think it's Jesus. No, 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 it's not. Because Jesus hasn't returned yet when that takes place in Daniel 9:27. So it's all about perspective and how we look at things. And we need to pray that God opens our eyes and gives us perspective. Let's go to 1 Kings 8, verse 29. "That your eyes may be open toward this temple night and day, toward the place of which you said, My name shall be there, that you may hear the prayer which your servant makes toward this place." Let's go to Psalm 119, verse 18. "Open my eyes that I may see wondrous things from your law." How about Mark 8, verse 29? "But he said to them, but who..." Oh, wait, is that it? That's not it. Mark 8, verse 25. "And then he put his hands on his eyes again and made him look up, and he was restored and saw everyone clearly." Luke 24, verse 30 through 32. "Now it came to pass as he sat at the table with them," this was after his crucifixion, "he took bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they knew him, and he vanished from their sight." How about John 9, verse 39 and 41. "And Jesus said, For judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see may see, and that those who see may be made blind. Jesus said to them, If you were blind, you would have no sin, but now you say, We see, therefore your sin remains." How about John 12, verse 39 through 41. "Therefore they could not believe, because Isaiah said again, He has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, lest they should see with their eyes, lest they should understand with their hearts, and turn, so that I should heal them." These things Isaiah said when he saw his glory and spoke of him. I'm going to finish up with 2 Corinthians 4, verses 3 through 5. "But even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing." Can't finish. God bless you. See you tomorrow.